Hey folks, this is Karel from Data and in this video I'm going to show you how to build this very simple dashboard using Tableau to track the vaccination process across the whole world. We are going to be using a free dataset from Johns Hopkins University, as you can see down here in the footer. And in my scenario I have this data refreshing daily from the source stored in a SQL database. So all I need to do is just synchronize my extracts, ensuring that I have this dashboard fresh every morning when my users are going to be looking at these numbers. So in our map, we're going to have a layout of all the countries that have vaccination data available in this dataset, and we're going to see with a color scale how they are performing in the vaccination. So we're going to be looking at the percentage of people fully vaccinated of the population of each individual countries, and we're going to be coloring by a 4 brackets scale. So from red, which are going to be the worst countries, to this bluish green, which are going to be the best countries. So we can quickly pick up that some countries in Europe like Spain and United Kingdom, Hungary, as well as the United States are doing a decent progress, but most of the countries are under 25%. But as the vaccination worldwide ramps up, we're going to be seeing progress in this dashboard. Down here, we're going to be seeing the details for each one of the countries. Here in the left, we're going to see the top 20 countries overall, sorted by the percentage of people fully vaccinated. So the bars are going to represent the percentage, which is what we're using to sort, and the bubbles, the population fully vaccinated. I decided to do it this way because depending on the size of the country, then your percentage can be good, but if you have a small population, that may not be as representative as looking at the population. And so we're trying to put as much information as we can in these visuals without, making it hard to read. Also, we have the world average, which is 6.3% at this moment. And we decided to highlight that to see how these countries are performing against that world average. So in the right, we are showing something similar, but these are going to be the top 20 countries that are below this world average represented here. So while this view in the left is going to show the top 20 countries overall, then we also want to see at those countries that are close to the world average, to also keep an eye on those that are not performing very well, but are trending in the right direction. And of course, the approach that you take here is going to depend on what your users need or what you want to see. Something else that I want to mention is that I have this control, and in this dashboard are only going to be represented those countries that has a population over 5 million. But if I want to, I can change this control, or my users can change this control to, let's say, whatever value they need, 1 million, for example. And then everything is going to update. The reason I decided to leave 5 million as default is just to remove all those small countries that may not be too representative for some business users, depending on the area that you are reporting to. But I always want to leave this control open, so if my users want to see everything, they are able to do that. So let's go ahead and let's build this. So I'm already connected to my data, to the data that lives in my SQL server that refreshes daily, as I mentioned. And let's begin with the map. So for that, I need to change the location, which is the country, to be a country geographic row. That's how I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to bring that to my view. And Tableau automatically is going to plot everything. So I'm going to change this map to be colored by country, and then I'm going to see which are the unknown locations. So I'm going to edit, and then I have Africa, Asia, Europe, and others. So I'm looking here that some countries, for example Micronesia, let's say let's add this value here. North America, that's a continent. Oceania, that's a continent. South America, Timor, and let's add Timor here. and Vatican, it's the same. And that's it. Then I have world, South America, Oceania, North America. All of these are continents. And that is because this data has, besides the data for each individual countries, they also include other aggregation levels. But I really don't need that in this visual particularly. So the way I have to do that is filter out by continent. So if I drag my continents to the filters, I'm going to see that I have a null continent. And here is where all those sub-aggregations are being stored. So if I exclude the nulls, now, as you can see, I don't have any unknown location, and that's great. So next, I want to color my map for the percentage of people fully vaccinated of the population of each one of the countries. So to do that, I have to create a calculation to actually find that out. So let's create a calculated field, and I'm going to name it percentage of population fully vaccinated. And this is actually very simple. What I need to do is find the max value for people fully vaccinated and divide that by the max value of my population. So why max? Well, because these two columns, these two fields, are reported incrementally. So if I do a sum, then I'm going to be aggregating incremental totals, and that number is going to be absolutely wrong. So that's what I need to pick the max value on each one of these two columns. Having that, I'm going to create my field, and I'm going to configure the properties to show as a percentage with no decimals. I'm not interested in decimals for that one. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to add these to the colors in my map. So now I have it. Now I have United States with 43% and others like Mongolia with 49% and so on. And I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to edit the colors, and I'm going to choose the temperature diverging. You can select the colors that you like the most. I'm going to do a step just to break these into 4 buckets. So I'm going to choose 4 here. And I'm going to use reverse because I want the red on the 0 side, on the bad side, and the 100% on the green side. So I have 115%, and I don't know which country is that, but I'm going to say that that's probably something wrong in the data. So I'm going to troubleshoot that right now. I'm going to click OK. My colors are going to apply. And I'm going to quickly create a new sheet, and I'm going to put my locations here and my percent of population fully vaccinated. I'm going to sort, and the country with 150% is Gibraltar. I don't know why. I guess there's something wrong in the data. That can happen. So just to be safe, I'm going to drag my location into the filters, and I'm going to exclude Gibraltar. I'm going to exclude that. I could do that, or I could exclude all the percentage greater than 100%. That's probably a better approach, but for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just going to take this path. So I'm going to exclude Gibraltar. Now I have green countries, Mongolia, United States, but these guys shouldn't be green because they're actually under 50%. So I'm going to edit my colors, and I'm going to open the advanced options, and I'm going to fix these 3 values. The start is going to be 0, my end is going to be 1, and my center is going to be 0.5. Remember, these are percentages. I'm going to apply, and now it's better. So now in green, I should only have those countries with more than 75% of the population fully vaccinated. I don't think there's any country there yet, but I should have some in this different tone of green, like Israel, for example. There it is in green. And well, all the other countries that are performing relatively well but under 50% are going to be yellow, and all those bad are going to be in red, just like I have here. So I know as a fact that countries like China do not report vaccination data to this dataset. And I can quickly identify that if I hover over a country where I know where I know there's vaccination data, I will see in the tooltip the 43%. But if I hover over China, for example, there's nothing there. There is a null. So what I can do in this case is just drag this field to my filters and say that I want to see the values that are going to be at least 0. And if apply, then all those countries with no vaccination data reported are not going to show. So I'm not going to have any percentages below 0. So doing that will ensure that I only have valid data represented here. So next, let's work on the control to allow our users to change the countries they want to see based on the population. So for that, we need to create a parameter to control that number. So we're going to do that. And I'm going to call that parameter just to be very descriptive there. It's going to be an integer, and my current value I want to set it to be 5 million. The display format, I want to show it as a number with no decimals, and I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to add that control to my sheet there. And now I need to create a calculation to filter out the countries that are below that population. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's create a calculated field. I'm going to name it is above population threshold. And all I'm going to do there is if the max population is greater than my parameter, then this is going to return true, else it's going to return false. I'm going to end this. Let me take this down a little bit. And now I have my calculated field. I'm going to create it. And then I'm going to bring that to my filters, and I'm going to select only those that are above that threshold. And I'm going to click OK. And now the countries with less than 5 million population are going to disappear. But if I change this control, then the visual are going to recalculate. Great. So our map is done. I don't think we are missing any details here. Well, we can edit the tooltip a little bit, so we can clean it up. Just like that. Oops. Let's center this out. Let's take a preview. Actually, better. So if we hover over, now we're going to see the country and the percentage that they have. And just to make it very simple, we can also edit our title, and we can name these countries by percentage population fully vaccinated. Countries by percentage population fully vaccinated. We can center this, and I want to highlight this down here, just like that. I'm going to make it smaller, 12 points, 14, 12 points, there. So I have my map, my title, my tooltips, my filters, everything the way I want it. So now let's go ahead and build the two visuals showing the top 20 countries overall and the top 20 countries below the world average. So for that, I'm going to duplicate this sheet, and then I'm going to turn this into a bar chart. I'm going to sort it, and I'm going to add this to the labels. And now I have the list of all the countries sorted by percentage of population fully vaccinated, which is the base of what I want to see. In addition to that, I want to color these bars with the same colors that we use for our map. So let's bring these two colors. And since we're using the same metric, the colors are going to be configured already, so you don't need to edit anything here. This is going to be inherited, and that's great. So basically we have here the same thing that we're looking at in our map, just in a different way. So let's make it more interesting. Let's start by reducing the size of this bar, the width, and then let's duplicate this metric in our columns. And for the second one, I'm going to change that to be a circle, or actually a shape. And that shape, I wanted to keep the same color, but I want to size it by the population. So I'm going to find that field here. Maybe it has another name. Let's find for vaccination. People fully vaccinated. Here it is. And then I'm going to drag it to my size. And I'm going to do a max instead of a sum, because it is the same logic that we previously discussed. This is an incremental field, so we need to pick the max value to get the latest number reported in our dataset. And then we're going to change the shape to be a field circle and play with the size a little bit to increase it to actually see the difference. That should be fine. And I'm going to get rid of my labels. So next, I'm going to create a dual axis. Make sure that my axes are synchronized. And then I don't know why this one became a circle, but I'm going to turn it into a bar. And there I have it. So I'm going to maybe make this smaller, like that, and the size here I'm going to increase a little bit. I'm going to take the labels to match the mark color. I'm going to make it bold. There, and actually I'm going to remove the label from here. I'm going to add it here, there. I think that's a better approach, otherwise it may be lost when the circles are too big. This way we're going always to make sure that it looks okay. So now I kind of have what I want. Let me hide this axis here in the top. I'm just going to leave this one at the bottom. I'm going to edit and remove this from here. That is going to be explained in the title. There. So this is starting to pick up some shape. Now I have to actually start filtering by the top 20 and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. To find the top 20 or top N, there are a couple of ways you can do that. I like to take a shortcut, so I'm going to duplicate one of the metrics that I have here, which is the same. And here I'm quickly going to create a table calculation that is going to do of type rank. And I'm going to edit that very quickly to set the competition to be unique. And that is going to create a rank for me, if you see. And that's what I'm going to use to filter by the top 20 here. And this is actually a way that I like a lot in doing this, because since this is table calculation, every time you update this table, say you have a filter or anything, since table calcs are computed at the end of all the filters, aggregations, and so on, then this value is going to update. So all I need to do now is bring this to the filters and select from 1 to 20. And that is going to achieve what I want. So these are my top 20 countries by percentage of population fully vaccinated. And since I'm sorting by that same metric, my rank is always going to remain correct. Great. So now I have my top 20 countries. And what I have left to do here is add a reference line to see how these countries compare to the world average. So I want to have kind of a threshold that I can visualize to see how these countries are doing against the whole world, right? So for that, I need to create a calculated field. So let's come here, create a new calculated field. I'm going to name it there. So what I need here is to find the total of people that have been fully vaccinated in the whole world and divide that by the total population of the world. With this dataset, there is a relatively simple way to do that. All you need to do is use a level of detail calculation to get that value And the reason we need a level D calculation is because we need to get this value globally for our dataset, because we need this to be calculated before any filters or any aggregations are applied in our data. So since this is a global LOD, we're just going to open and close the brackets, and now we're going to say, well, I need the max people fully vaccinated, right? So where is that max value? Remember the max because this data is incremental. But now I need to be careful because I cannot pick the max for one particular country. I'm looking at the world data. But thankfully in this dataset, if you remember, there is a location named world where this value is coming, meaning that every day the cases reported by country are aggregated under this category world. And from there we can extract this data. So we're going to say if the location equals world, and then we're going to scan all the data and find the column location or the rows where the value is world. Then I'm going to find the people fully vaccinated, else I'm going to return 0 because I don't need to see each individual countries. I only want to see the value when the location equals world. So that is going to return the latest value that I have for people fully vaccinated in my dataset, which should be equal to the total. And I'm going to divide that by same thing. Just going to copy and paste to avoid some extra typing. And instead of people fully vaccinated, I'm going to return the population. So this should scan my entire dataset before any filters, before any kind of aggregation, and is going to look for the world rows under the location column, and is going to return the max value of the people fully vaccinated, and is going to divide that by the max value of the population, and this should result in that percentage that we're looking for, which is our percentage of people fully vaccinated. Let me make sure that my field has the correct names. So I'm going to remove the average because this is not really an average. A percentage better. And I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to default this to be a percentage with 2 decimal places. That's okay. And then I'm going to add this to the details. Actually, let me add it here. And now I'm going to add a reference line at the table level, and that is going to be our sum of percentage people fully vaccinated, the field that we just created. And I'm going to leave this as a max. This shouldn't affect on anything because this is a pre-calculated field, but I just want to keep it with the same aggregation that I'm doing under the hood on the LOD, but you can just leave this as is. And in my label, I'm going to choose custom. I'm going to put there world average. Oops. And then I'm going to add the value. No tooltip, not recalculated, and I'm going to set this up as a thing without a bar. Let's see how it looks. It looks good. But there's something strange here, something with the axis. They shouldn't be showing this way. Let me take a look. Oh, for some reason this is logarithmic. I don't know why. Probably when I change the name I click on there by mistake, and since I add the reference line, now the axis broke. So let me clean that up, and now we have it. Also, let me fix this to show from 0 to 1 there, so I can actually have the measure of the full axis. And then just let me format this a little bit just to remove the lines in the visual. There, I prefer to have this kind of visuals without any reference line or anything, because the bars are usually enough to see the difference between the countries here. Also, I'm going to format this reference line. So now I have this the way I want it. Let me now hide the label there, and I'm going to change the name because this is the name from the map. So this one I'm going to call it top 20 countries overall, and as a subtitle I'm just going to do it smaller, maybe not that small. I'm just going to describe what my users are going to be looking at. There. And this is going to allow me to hide this legend in the dashboard, and that's a space that I can use to put other elements, so just have a cleaner view overall, right? Well, I think this visual is ready. I just have my top 20 countries here overall, so I'm going to change the name of the sheet. And I'm going to duplicate that, because now I want to create something similar to this, but only show the top 20 countries that are below the world average, 6.2, like you can see here. So for that, I need to create a calculation field to use as a filter to only show those countries. So let's do that. We have all the elements that we need, and I'm just going to name it like that. And then this is a very simple calculation because I already have all the pieces that I need. So I'm just going to say if this value, what I have in my labels, in this case the percentage for each one of the countries, is under the percentage of people fully vaccinated worldwide, which happens to be in my details because I'm using that for my reference line. So if this is true, then this is going to return true, else false. I'm going to end this, and there I have it. So let me format this a little bit, and this should work the way I want. I'm going to create that, and I'm going to bring this to the filters, and I want only to show those true values, meaning those that are under the world average. Then I'm going to see the result that I want. And we can actually use the reference line to see that all these countries are under that threshold. This is going to keep the top 20 countries under the threshold, because remember that we are filtering by a table calculation, a rank table calculation, and those are computed after the filters and all the aggregations are applied to our sheet. So we don't need to change that. And that's why I like to use, when I'm filtering by a rank, I want to use table calculations. So I'm going to remove the reference line. I don't need it anymore over here. And what I'm going to do is, in the title, which I'm going to change the format a little bit, I'm going to say top 20 countries under the world average, and here I'm going to add a reference to that world average, which I have right here because it is in my details. I can access that from here, and if I apply that, now I'm going to see that value in my title. So I'm just going to make it bolder to highlight a little bit, since it's not going to be my visual. And this is kind of long, so I'm going to change this to say average instead, like that. Okay, great. I think this is already exactly the way we want it to be. Let me just change the name, top 20 under world average. I actually made a mistake here in the subtitle, because I copied and pasted. So this should be size by population fully vaccinated. I copied and pasted and forgot to actually change the second part. So let me change it here. Let me change it here as well. And there. So I'm coloring by the percentage and sizing by the actual people fully vaccinated. So this is it. I have the 3 visuals that are going to become my dashboard. And now all I need to do is, what is this? Oh yeah, this is, let me get rid of this sheet. And now all I need to do is actually lay out my dashboard. So I'm going to create it. For this, I want to use a custom size. I'm going to use 1200 by 1000. And here I'm just going to add a vertical container, a floating one, which I'm going to size with the same dimensions of my dashboard. There, I'm going to put it in there. Now in this container I'm going to drop off my objects, and that is going to avoid all that automatic layout that Tableau does, which is a bit weird and kind of complicated to work with. So I rather take this approach. It's easier to me. So now I'm going to put my map at the top and then those 2 visuals at the bottom. So I'm going to add a text layer here, which is going to be the name of my dashboard, which I'm going to name COVID-19 vaccine tracker. I had issues with my keyboard there. I'm going to make it semi-bold, maybe, I don't know, 15, 16, let's make it 18. And I'm going to make it just black. Okay, excellent. Now I have my title there at the top, and then I'm going to add the map right under the title. Great. And at the bottom I'm just going to add a horizontal object there, and inside this one I'm going to add my top 20 overall visual and my top 20 under the average right. Oops. You see? Yeah, there. And now I'm going to distribute my contents evenly. Great. And finally I'm going to add another text layer here at the bottom, where I'm going to add my credits, which I have over here. Let me just copy and paste to make it easier. There. Great. So these are all the components in my dashboard. Actually, I need to show the parameter. So let me put it from here. Parameter. Well, it looks like it's somewhere around here. Let me check the layout. Oh yeah, here. The tile thing, this is what I hate of Tableau, but I mean, you have to live with it. But at least once you get your stuff out of there, then you can actually delete it, and that will be it. So let me put this as a floating object, and now from here I'm going to remove that tile object. Gone. From here I don't need this. I do want my color legend. I'm going to keep it over here. And I also need this one, which I'm going to place around here. And well, let's see if everything works. Let me change this to 1 million. Yes, it looks like everything is working as we expected to. That is great. Okay, so there it is. That's your dashboard. So now we have actually the map. Let me make it fit the screen. Great. And now we have it. That's our dashboard. We have our map with the colors, and then we have the top 20 countries overall and the top 20 countries that are under the 6.2 world average. And this is it. You can make this fancier. You can actually fix the tooltip to make it look cooler. You can add, I don't know, a trend of the vaccination process in your tooltips and make it even better. You have a lot of options to work with. You can add dashboard actions to filter and so on. There are a lot of stuff that you can do, but basically this is what we wanted to build, and the rest is just customization and making it look cooler, so I will leave that to you. I'm going to do an extract of this data of today, June 10, 2021, and I'm going to publish this dashboard with the data to my Tableau public. I'm going to leave a link on that if you want to take the workbook and use it as a base for your work. You're welcome to do that. I'm just going to leave it there. I hope that you find this solution interesting. I hope that you liked the video, found it interesting. If that was the case, just leave us your comments, subscribe so you can keep track of the videos that we publish here. Thank you so much, and see you around.